Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Calabasas City Council meeting of June 24th, 2026. It is 6:10 p.m. We are running a little bit late. We did have a closed session very early today, and that's why we're running a little late. Tonight, I'm joined by Mayor Pro Tem Albrecht and Councilmember Shapiro, Kraut, and Weintraub. And we're now here. So I'm going to ask the Pledge of Allegiance. Brian, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
All rise. Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Before I have a motion to approve the agenda, I noticed that item number 18, staff is recommending that we continue that item. So may I have a motion to approve the agenda with the understanding that item number 18 will be rescheduled?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Now we'll turn to our city attorney and go for a report on closed session.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. We did meet in closed session to discuss item number 1, public employee performance evaluation for the city manager. Item number 2, existing litigation, Mountains Restoration Trust versus City of Calabasas, as well as item number 3, potential for litigation against the city. One case, no reportable action was taken on any of the items.
Thank you. Now we're going to turn to council announcements. Alicia?
Sure. I'm going to read this since it's a little detailed. The City of Calabasas, in partnership with EPIC, will be hosting an emergency preparedness and radio distribution event for Calabasas residents on Sunday, July 19th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Calabasas Community Center. These radios are free only to residents with a home or business address within a Calabasas evacuation zone, and you can look up your zone on the website. And in order to request your free emergency radios, you need to first complete a form on the EPIC website, which is also on our website. And after you submit your information, EPIC will send you an invitation to book an appointment. So you can't just show up, you have to fill out the contact form first. Thank you.
Peter?
I just want to announce that our Parks Department has been putting programs together like crazy. There's a lot coming up here in the near future. Just a couple to tease the public here. The Dive-In Movie Night is showing the movie Luca at 7:30 p.m. on June 26th. So that's coming up this weekend. And then next week, on July 1st, we have Parks Make Life Better with an ice cream social, and that'll be down at De Anza Park. So come out and join us.
And I should add, because I always do, the annual 4th of July celebration that the city has. And this year we have the Calabasas Fun Run around Lake Calabasas, which is being managed mostly by the Calabasas Park Homeowners Association as a longstanding tradition going back long before cityhood. We have the Pet Show by Lakeside, also with the Calabasas Park Homeowners Association. And then we have our Summer Splash Party at the Calabasas Tennis and Swim Center, starting after that, free and open to the public. So come join us for any and all of those events. Ed?
Thank you, Mayor. You took my favorite one, the splash party. So I can tell you as evidence, my granddaughter will not go anywhere, including her own pool, but it's going to be at the Calabasas Tennis and Swim. It's a great event. And there are a couple other things to mention, and that is the Chamber office manager. I thought everybody who's familiar with the Chamber, Michelle Thomas, is retired, so we had a wonderful goodbye celebration for what she's done for the Chamber. It's a great organization, as everybody knows, and she was a great lady, impossible to replace. So we want to wish her well in her retirement. And then a very important piece of news coming up this Friday at 7 o'clock is the USA against Turkey in World Cup soccer. So I hope everybody watches and hip hip hooray to USA. That's it for me.
David?
Thank you. All mine have been taken, so I'll wish everybody a happy, safe 4th of July. And since this is our last meeting till August, have a great break.
Yes, okay, thank you. And that is it for announcements. So we're going to turn now to public comment. This is a time in the council meeting where any member of the public may comment on any unagendized items as long as it pertains to relevant city business, and you will get 3 minutes or less. In order to speak, you need to fill out the speaker card like this. There are speaker cards in the back. Please hand it to the city clerk if you'd like to speak. I have a few here, and I will start calling them. First, we have Mark Levinson. Please state your name and your city of residence.
Good morning, afternoon, Mayor and council members. Thank you. Mark Levinson. I reside in Los Angeles. I'm the immediate past chair of the Chamber of Commerce. Two very quick announcements. We're having a luncheon this week. The speaker is Dr. Schweitzer from UCLA. He's an expert in orthopedics and exercise, which is apropos of the Olympics that are coming out. And the next and probably most important thing is we are already beginning extensive planning for the mayor's lunch, which is August 27. Sponsorships and tickets are available, so please enter. And there'll be more news about the lunch honoring Mayor Basajian later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And we have also Jolie Fowler. Nice to see you again, Jolie.
Thank you, Council. Appreciate it. Good evening. My name is Jolie Fowler. I've lived in Calabasas for more than 30 years. I'm an emergency room physician who has cared for victims of high-speed traffic collisions, and most importantly, I'm the mother of 3. I'm here tonight because I can no longer ignore the crisis on Mulholland Highway. I live just a few blocks from where last weekend's crash claimed the lives of 2 people speeding after a speeding vehicle left the roadway and landed in a nearby yard. Fortunately, no one in that yard was injured. But this was not an isolated event, not the first, and too common. Anyone who regularly drives Mulholland has seen the problem. Cars routinely speed, race, pass on blind curves, cross into oncoming traffic, and drive with complete disregard for the safety of everyone else on the road. Just hours after last weekend's fatal crash, my parents were stopped at the light at Old Topanga and Mulholland when a driver went around them, crossed into the incoming traffic, and ran the red light and continued through this intersection. I would have thought that's weird, but it's not the first, and I've had it happen to me also. This behavior is coming, as I said, normalized, but it should not. Over the past several days, I've spoken with Deputy Director Jane Dinkins of Public Works, Sergeant James Aarons of Lost Hill Sheriff Station, and I've reached out to Supervisor Lindsay Horvath's office. I'm very serious and concerned about this issue. One thing became very clear to me. The Sheriff Department recognizes this problem and is committed to addressing it. But staffing limitations mean enforcement alone cannot solve it. In fact, Sergeant Aarons was very kind and spoke with me at length. But however, he was and explained multiple times that he just does not have the personnel to increase patrol along this highway. This means we need additional tools. Malibu faced a similar crisis after the tragic deaths of 4 Pepperdine students. They didn't simply acknowledge the problem. They pursued solutions, including one of the highest impacts, the automated speed enforcement cameras. These cameras are similar to red light cameras. They automatically detect vehicles traveling the speed limit, capture the license plate, and allow for an enforcement. Unlike traditional enforcement, they can work 24/7. This is a Senate Bill 1297, authored by Senator Bell Allen, is the Senate bill that can help us obtain these automated red light cameras. I'm asking this council to begin the process of bringing that same solution to us. If additional legislation action is needed, let's begin it now. There are certainly other messages worth pursuing, including using the sheriff's decoy car, which apparently is in disrepair. I ask for a few more moments.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Please hurry though.
You got it. Okay. In addition, speed feedback signs, additional warning signs, and roadway improvements. I don't want another study. I want action. I'm happy to be part of the solution. I don't want to hear sirens, screeching cars, look at and see where my kids are, and then say a little prayer that no one else is injured. I want action, and I'm ready to help. I ask the city council to let us know what can be done and what the next steps are.
Thank you, Julie. Next speaker is, and I forgive the pronunciation, I can't read all of this, and also my pronunciation may not be correct anyways. Nishka Raheja Goel. Welcome.
Good evening. Doesn't Calabasas want to be known as an inclusive and forward-looking city? Right now, from my perspective, it does not. I have sent an email to quite a few of the council members here regarding Diwali, which is a holiday celebrated by a lot of Indians around the city. Last year, it was approved as a legal holiday, and I had started a conversation with the librarian to see what we could do to have something going on in the library or somewhere within the city, and I was given somewhat of a runaround. And I approached them again this time and was given another runaround. So I would like to suggest that we celebrate each other's holidays. There's lots of different ethnicities represented within the city of Calabasas, and I would like to see what we can do to celebrate each other, because all these kind of celebrations where we recognize each other's ethnicities build connections, they create a stronger sense of community, and when we understand each other's traditions, we discover that we have much more in common than what we have, which is different. And we have many libraries. I'm actually working with the Central Library downtown, and we're putting together a program there for Diwali. And we are also, as I had mentioned to you in my email, Thousand Oaks and a couple of different cities around Los Angeles are celebrating Diwali. And we are also approaching LAUSD to do something in order to introduce our children to different cultures and so on. So my request is that Calabasas also embrace opportunities to celebrate cultural activities, specifically Diwali in my mind. And by doing so, we send a powerful message that we all belong. And together, we build a community where there is diversity, and we celebrate each other's differences and recognize the similarities that we have also. The city will not lose its identity by celebrating other cultures. In fact, I think it strengthens its identity by doing something like this. 10 minutes left.
Okay. Thank you. I have no other cards up here. If there are any other speakers who wish to speak in public comment.
James, can you just explain that we can't comment to the?
Yeah, we don't respond to public comment. If you wish something additional, you can always contact us after you comment, or contact the appropriate staff member if you have a specific question. But we don't debate or discuss the issues because they're not agendized.
So what would be next step?
Yeah.
The next step, if anyone wishes to have a response, in your case, since you're asking the council, would be to email the council
She
or
already
call the
Which I
council.
She did already.
I did.
But I know she did, but she didn't after she made the comments here.
Maybe Michael, you can grab contact.
I did, just for the record though, I did respond and I asked some questions that I did not get a response to. So I'm happy to respond again, but I will do that if desire, but we really can't talk about it beyond that. And I will have a comment for Jolie as well. Okay, so we are going to move on, because I don't have any other public comments. Eric, do I? we're going to go on to consent calendar. That's items 4 through, let's see, 15, 16 through 16. I would like to take off number 13 for a question. Would anybody else like to take off items?
Yeah.
David, do you have any items?
Not right now, thank you.
Ed, do you have any items? Peter?
14 and 16, please.
Okay, Alicia?
Not right now.
Okay, so items 1 through 16 minus 13, 14, and 16. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
And this is motion to approve. That's, I heard it as Weintraub Kraut. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Item 13, I'll be very quick. I was reading through this, Curtis, welcome, and it looked like a really high amount for what we're doing here, and maybe you could explain is this just like berms, like guardrails?
No, this is actually quite a bit of metal beam guardrail. So it's like that highway guardrail that you see primarily along highways, but we have,
Oh, like those white pillar things?
no, it's usually the silver metal beam with the wood post, wood or steel post,
Oh,
about 3 feet tall. It is fairly expensive material to put in because it's crash rated.
And how many total feet or square, however you're measuring it, how long a stretch, if you total it all together?
You know, I don't have that off the top of my head. I'd be happy to look that
No,
up and
no,
provide it to
you
you.
don't have to do that. I guess, I guess we're using, like if we're already doing an area, we're kind of getting more value for our dollar by including a larger scope of what we're doing. Is that what I'm inferring here?
Yeah, and it was a grant. So this is the Highway Safety Improvement Program that comes through Caltrans. Has several different facets. One of the easier pieces to get is what they call the set-aside grant through this program, and guardrail is one of the easiest things that qualifies. So we went and identified all the deficient areas in the city, totaled those up, and submitted for a grant, and we were successful. So we're primarily replacing existing guardrail that's either damaged or outdated. There's a couple areas where we're adding a little bit of guardrail.
Okay, and I saw it was different, the different areas. Thank you, that's all my questions. Anyone have any questions on that other than me? All right, we'll move to item 14, which is,
If I could ask to take 16 first and then 14?
sure.
So, if I may, for item number 16, the bids on page 280 of our packet, page 2 of 3 of that item, it appears that SGD, doing business as Four Seasons Landscaping, was a qualified low bidder, and that contract was awarded for $493,000.
Yeah, that's their first year cost.
Okay. Was the RFP for a 5-year contract?
The RFP was for a 5-year contract with two-year optional renewals. That's how we awarded the RFP.
Okay, thank you. Flipping then to item 14, we had a bid from Four Seasons Landscaping. Is that the same company?
That is.
Okay, so there's no mention of SGD in this handout, so I wasn't sure if they were the same company. I noticed that in item number 14, they were the low bidder at $185. Was there a reason we didn't take them?
They're primarily a landscape company, and they don't staff arborists. So the item 14 is for a tree service contract. We really want those contractors to have licensed arborists on staff.
Okay, and was a licensed arborist on staff part of our RFP? Was there?
Yes.
So they, in effect, they were,
They could be considered non-responsive, but we decided to include them in the staff report.
okay. If you're going to do that in the future, we need an explanation.
Sure.
If there's a low bidder and we're not taking them, I think we need to have it on the record why we're not taking the low bidder, because that's $100,000 a year difference. And now that you've explained that they don't have a licensed arborist, that makes a big difference. They're a landscaper bidding for a tree contract. There's a second question I had on this one, which was the next two bidders, low bidders, if we will, here. And I understand it's lowest qualified bidder, so I don't want to mislead the public to say that whatever the low number is, we take that. You know, we can make a call on their qualifications and such. But the next two were the ones we selected, Newbury Park Tree and United Pacific Services, Inc.
Yes.
But on page 3, I'm sorry, on page 3 for the bid, their numbers were $299 and $228, but on page 4 for the contracts that we awarded, again, for the first-year contract alone, we awarded $309 and $574,615. Where does that number come from?
So we do add contingencies to the contract. That's part of it. And I'm going to read look at the details of the staff report real quickly here. And so what we also included primarily with UPS's contract is we have a total budget in this city of about $700,000 a year of tree work. A lot of that is included in the landscape and lighting districts that we don't always use all that budget, but there is a chance that we may need to. So we're kind of contracted up to that amount, if that makes sense. The scope of the work that they're primarily going to carry out every year is going to be that lower number that you see. But there's a potential, that is related primarily to the city work and city right-of-way. But because we do tree work in the LLADs, we also need to have contract authority to go in there and do work, in those districts.
Is that spelled out in their contract in 2 buckets of money?
It is, yes, because their proposal is attached in the contract. So we'll make sure that they cannot, and that work is only, in the LLADs, is only proceeds with city authorization. So it's not like they're going to carry out that extra $100,000 or $150,000 worth of work every year. It's going to have to be requested and approved by the city first.
Okay. So, Curtis, I'm a big fan, and I trust you. And I think the city's done a really great job of bidding things out, especially in the last several years. I see here that we had 6 bidders on this one, and we had a whole lot more contact with 39 prospective bidders and viewing 456 times. But I do believe that staff reports like this that don't spell out why the low bidder's not taken and award money for $574,615 on one page when the bid was $299,988. It's got to have an explanation to it, because we created this culture, I believe, where nobody wanted to bid with the city because we always went back to the same guy. And unfortunately, the narrative, the only narrative in here on page 3, says NPT has consistently provided the city and its residents with high-quality arboricultural services and has established a proven track record of professionalism, responsiveness, and customer service. That's a great thing to say about our consultants, but I do believe that is one of the things that got us into that scenario where nobody wants to bid with us anymore. So I just ask, if I've got this many questions in the staff report, it just means that you really need to take a little more time to explain why we're awarding different amounts in the bids and why we're not selecting the lowest bidder.
Sure, we can make sure to do that moving forward.
All right.
And I will note, just on the tree service contract, Newbury Park Tree Service has been the primary contractor for years. We're actually making a switch here. And just to, I know you read the staff report, but just, for those who maybe just skimmed it, UPS will be performing the majority of the tree work in the city now. So that is we're kind of making a departure there. Newbury Park, along with UPS at times, will perform work in the landscape and lighting districts.
Okay. And again, the landscape and lighting districts, if I could just do the math here, we bid a contract that's, $228,000 to $299,000, and we're awarding 2 contracts for $874,000, $875,000.
Right.
That's all within the current budget for the LLADs plus this city work?
Yeah, and I think I may have written it in there. That contract authority does slightly exceed the budget we have.
Okay.
We have about a little over $700,000 of tree work budget. But we do run into times, especially in the winters where we have storms and we need emergency work. And we've been caught before where we call out our contractors we have on contract, but sometimes we'll exceed the contract authority that we have, or we'll call out a different contractor and we don't have their insurance and bonds on file, but we just need the emergency work. Here, we're going to have that extra contract authority with the insurance and the bonds, everything in place so we can respond more adequately when there's emergency work too. So
Okay.
that's part of this also.
With these explanations, I would be inclined to vote in favor of these items, but I would just ask Public Works to monitor these contracts going forward, and unless you have an emergency to back these things up, especially a declared emergency where we'll get reimbursed from somebody else, we do need you to keep the actual operational expenses within the budget.
Yeah, of course.
Any other
That's all.
comments on 14 or 16? May I have a motion to approve 13, 14, and 16?
So moved?
Second?
Kraut and Weintraub, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on to our first public hearing. And that's the fiscal year 2026, 2027 budget. So we have our city manager and our chief financial officer providing the report.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. This is our second opportunity to discuss the budget. We were fortunate at our last meeting to spend about an hour and a half on the budget. We went through in great detail the new format, the new software, some of the changes. I'll turn the time now over to Allison Chen from our finance department, and she will do the presentation. Again, with very few changes based on the direction from council, what you see tonight is the budget that was presented 2 weeks ago. And so again, I'll let Allison and Ron go through those items, and then we'll open up for council discussion and then also direction on the budget.
Good evening, Mayor and Council member. Tonight we bring before you the fiscal year 2026-27 annual budget for adoption. The budget before you tonight is largely the same as the budget presented to Council at the last meeting on June 10th. So tonight's presentation will focus mainly on the changes made since the last meeting. The slide summarizes the changes made since the June 10th meeting. That's starting with the middle section, the community center fund, as discussed at the last meeting. We have now had additional months of actual received to work with, so that allows us to revise our revenue projection upward by 118,000. And as a result of that increase, we were able to reduce the transfer in from general fund for 100,000. And that is a positive impact to the fund. So that reduction also reflected on the top under the general fund. You can see the transfer into the community center fund is reduced by 100,000, which is a positive impact to the general fund. The last item is LAD Mount Calabasas. This is the HOA within our landscape and lighting assessment district. They request an increase of 40,000 to their maintenance expense, so that is a negative adjustment to the fund. And if you taking all together, all this revision result a net positive budget impact of 78,000. Turning to the general fund highlights, the first item to note is the transfer to community center, which is now has been reduced from 1.2 million to 1.1 million, and that's due to the updated revenue projection that we just discussed on the last slide. Other than that adjustment, all the information on this slide remains unchanged since the last meeting. Slide 4 and 5 covers our general fund revenue. For the upcoming fiscal year 2026-27, we continue to project 31.7 million in general fund. That's consistent with the June 10 presentation. This slide shows the general fund revenue that we just saw on the previous slide, but now broken down in the pie chart format. Again, no change here since the June 10 presentation. Slide 6, this one covers the increased cost for the general fund. On the second item on the list, you will see the slide shows the general fund transfer to community center totaling 1.2 million. So that's the arrow at my part. It should be read as 1.1 million. And that was due to the revision that we discussed earlier. So I apologize for this oversight. And when compared the 1.1 million to the budget that we budget for this current fiscal year, that shows the increase of 445,000. All other numbers on this slide are unchanged since the last presentation. This slide shows the next year's projected general fund expense by major category. The top 3 categories are salaries and benefits, the sheriff contract, and contractual service cost. The other expense category for 5.7 million is broken down further in the next slide. So this slide is the other expense category, now showing the 5.7 million down from the 5.8 million that we presented on June 10. The 100,000 reduction is due to the reduction on the transfer to community center. Now it's showing 1.1 million instead of 1.2 million. This slide is just a quick reference for the certain general fund expenses in the detailed budget book. Page 42 covers salaries and expenses. Page 44 covers our insurance cost, debt payments, and transfers to community center, deferred maintenance, and Section 115 trust. And lastly, the page 47 is the Los Angeles County Sheriff cost. Slide 10 is the general fund overview. The projected deficit now for the upcoming fiscal year is 621,000, which is 100,000 better than what we presented on the June 10 meeting. And that was due to the reduction in transfer to community center. This slide shows the general fund reserve position. Per city's reserve policy, we are required to maintain a reserve equal to 50% of general fund expenditure. This slide shows we currently hold 3.8 million above that required minimum, which is available to cover the projected deficit for the upcoming fiscal year. Now turning to community center fund. This fund covers the operations for our Calabasas Community Center. Since the June 10 presentation, we identified the additional revenue of 118,000 that we discussed earlier. So that brings the total revenue to 1 million. And at the same time, the general fund transfer has reduced 100,000 to 1.1 million. With the 2 changes, has a slight improvement at the bottom line compared to the last presentation. So for the upcoming fiscal year, we are projected a surplus of 21,000 for the community center. Next slide covers our tennis and swim fund. Those figures are unchanged since the June 10 presentation. We continue to project a surplus of 389,000 for the upcoming fiscal year, and that's mainly driven by the increase in revenue to 6.6 million. Next is the library fund that also unchanged since the last presentation. We projected 2.8 million in revenue and 3.2 million in expenditure, and that results of deficit of 406,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. Slide 15 is our citywide overview that consolidates all the funds that city manages. The overall citywide total have improved slightly for 78,000 since the June 10 presentation, and that was due to the revision that we walked through earlier on slide 2. The next slide covers our capital project improvement. Again, there's no change since last presentation. As before, there are no general fund capital project included in the upcoming year. The Tennis and Swim Center has an electronic panel upgrade budget at 600,000 and a water mainline replacement at 500,000. Other street and transportation projects continue to be funded through gas tax, RMRA, Measure R and Measure M, and other grant sources. So this brings us to tonight's request item. Staff is asking the council to provide the direction on fiscal year 2026-27 budget and adopt resolution that will adopt the budget and authorize to use the general fund general fund reserve up to 621,000.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing. We'll start with council questions and comments. Actually, I don't have any cards, so if anyone would like to speak, they need to hand in a card, but I'll turn to the council questions and comments first. Peter, why don't you start?
I have no questions or comments at this time.
Ed?
No, I think we've gone over it very, very well with the public meetings. I'm very satisfied with the way it is, and no comments.
David?
Thank you. I have a number of questions, comments, and some may be repetitive, so I'll apologize to anyone who has heard them before. Just a quick question. Going to page 8 of the report, could you, I think you did last time, but for the public and for myself, could you identify the approximate 1.15 million in miscellaneous general fund expenses? Give a little breakdown maybe of the larger items, please.
Yes, so that would be, there will be various items in that miscellaneous. So it could be our supplies. There could be, there's some small items for our events, and there will be just lots of, several small items included in that category.
Thank you. And I know this is a separate question based on the budgets. I know our hotels right now and have been extremely very full, and rates have been extremely high from those I hear from in the community and others in the surrounding neighborhoods who had to unfortunately find shelter and have long-term residencies in our hotels. Do you anticipate the TOT going up in years beyond what we're anticipating in the budget now?
We're anticipating the TOT to basically be the same for next year as it is this current year. So no change, and recognizing that it has been an increase. We're at, I believe, 3.2 million for the estimate for next year.
Thank you very much. The rest of my items are comments, really. You want me to make those now, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, everything, please.
Okay. I mentioned this last time. I am concerned about the transfer of 1.1 million now. It was 1.2, and now we're down to 1.1 million to the community center. I indicated my concern, at least, if not opposition to that, without further information. I have not received anything. I don't think we have at this point the things I asked about were ways, if we could, to increase revenue, cut costs. The increased revenue had to do with the details I was looking for. Programs, what programs are working, what programs aren't working, what programs, what we take in, what we expend on those programs. Same with rentals on the facility, and any solutions or potential solutions, not to make it profitable, but to do better as far as numbers go than we are now. My recommendation on this, and again, I think I'm the only one who will make this recommendation, is we are doing an amended budget in January. I heard from you coming back, Ron, right? Or Kendon?
Yeah, so we will be coming back to Council 1 for Measure K, but we always do our mid-year budget in like February timeframe and present that to Council, showing here's where 6 months of actual stood, and then our best guess at that point for where the whole year is going to be.
Okay. And based upon that, and hopefully between now and then getting some of the information on the programs, meaning if pickleball's a big success, it would be good to know that. If basketball's a big success, if rentals are down, what we can do possibly, or what we anticipate. To have that information, I would recommend or suggest to my colleagues that we go ahead and transfer agree to $500,000 now, and another $600,000 with the amended budget in January. And I'm maybe the only one saying that, but just putting it out there. Then I'll move on to the $125,000 grant program, which I indicated last time. I am not in favor of this and doing it this way. As mentioned, I did not stand in the line, I don't think, when James was on council back on Monroe Road, but it was not a very pleasant thing. I realize it's going a different route with applications is the recommendation through city staff to determine and then present to us. But again, my concern is in part the political nature of things such as that down the road. Secondly, and I think Councilmember Weintraub also agreed on this, that something yellow, the 5K, the Calabasas Film Festival, and of course I'll throw in Rotary there and the Neighbors in Need program, are programs for our community. They are not just grants to entities asking for additional funds occasionally. Something Yellow is a childhood cancer foundation that does community events year-round in the city, has a basis of a family very active in our city, and a child who was in the city, Kevin Cordasco, who passed away tragically at a very young age, but was a foundation in the city. His portrait sits as the only portrait that I'm aware of in the library at this point, so he's in the children's reading room. To me, their community involvement and the community nature of that event doesn't make it something that they should have to apply for unless this council feels otherwise. Calabasas Film Festival, and without responding to anyone directly, also is a community event. The hotels are filled, at least one or one and a half of them, with people from the film festival. Every single event is parties, pre-parties, meals are done and sponsored and or actually paid for with events in the city. So they have our restaurants, they have our hotels, they have our facilities, and it is a community event. So it is not just some organization coming in saying, please, one time, let me have this. They're more community events. So I would ask those be out of this
Okay.
opportunity.
I tend to agree with you on all this, but see, tonight we have to do the final thing. So when you're doing that, can you tell us what you want to do in the alternative?
In the
'Cause
alternative?
You can't just, on both, though.
The first one, I gave
Your
the first
first and second points, because you said you didn't like it, and then I
Right.
didn't hear an alternative, because
Okay,
we got to find out tonight.
I'm not done, but yes, I would like Something Yellow, Rotary, and CFF not to be part of that process.
But you didn't like the process, so the process itself, what do you want to do?
I wasn't done because the PFC is part of that process. And I want to say, we've
Oh, okay,
already
just
reduced
finish.
the PFC from 250 to 125. And this council has already done that in large part because of financial concerns and other concerns which we've discussed up here. So to me, I would like to keep the school grants at this point at the 125. I would like to keep Something Yellow, Rotary, and CFF, Calabasas Film Festival, outside of this. And then if there is a grant fund or some other fund you'd like to include, or this council would like to, I would support that. Again, those are things I don't think that should come back until the council decides they should change, those four.
Okay, no, I understand that,
Yeah.
but the first part of what you said, you
Right.
didn't like the mechanism for doing the grants.
Correct.
So what do you have in the alternative? Because it's got to be decided tonight.
Right. And I'm open to suggestions or from my colleagues. I'm okay with items other than these being in a grant format with some pool of funds, whatever we decide.
So, but you don't want the council deciding? Like they go to somebody else?
I think so. I think if there is a, again, we have Rotary determining neighbors and needs, and we trust them, and they do an amazing job. I don't know the answer. If it's staff that the council feels comfortable with, then I'm okay with that.
I'll
I'm just trying to exclude these particular items.
I'll weigh in when it's my turn on this one.
Well, go ahead, finish. Go ahead and finish.
Okay, I've got a couple more. You want me to
No,
come
go-
back to this?
Take your time.
On the reserves, this is something I've mentioned before, and Peter knows we worked together tirelessly, and we debated this. We were at one way above 75% reserves for the general fund in this city. I agreed to support and have this come below the amounts of 65 or 60%, which was my bottom line and my thoughts, to 50%, which we all voted on and supported, as a bottom line, a minimum, not just a number. And that is for an emergency purposes, in my mind, to protect the city. No one on this council, at least I don't know anyone, who could have possibly anticipated a pandemic. We've gone through some very tough fiscal times in the community, individuals, businesses, and I don't know that we're done yet. I don't like the idea of dropping this to the bare minimum and leaving us no room in the future in an emergency, unless there's an emergency, to tap those funds. That's approximately $3.9 million going to help balance the budget in this instance because, frankly, we needed it to do so. And that's what I'm seeing and hearing. I want to protect those funds for the future of the city. I think that's their purpose, and that's why I've been so strong. I never wanted to go below 65 or 60, Peter, and you know this because I knew we'd be at this point where you say, okay, let's go to 50. I don't think that's right, so I'm going to say that out loud. I'm looking at the future of the city, not when I'm sitting up here, but somebody else is, and God forbid there's another emergency or serious situation where we need these funds, and it wouldn't last that long. It's 6 months, I believe, if I'm correct, approximately. So it's not a long time. All right, last but not least, the library fund.
Did nothing change since last week?
So I'm not supportive of that, if that answers. I'm supportive of a portion of it if we have to. But I'd rather we wait till January when we have additional funds if we're going to be needing them to help balance the budget at this time. That's what we went out to Measure K to the public, to ask people to help us get things right and to keep funds away from the county and let us keep the funds local. And I know I'm giving a quick summary, but basically, I don't think we should put ourselves and handcuffs ourselves for the future. Library, we need to help either cut costs and or increase revenues. It's an amazing facility, and we need to keep it as such, and I want us to do something about that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm keeping track of where there might be consensus, so I'm trying. Did you?
Mayor, if I could just make some comments on a few of those items, because I think it will help with the rest of the discussion going forward. After our meeting on June 10th, we explored a little bit more the Something Yellow event. And really, that's not a grant. And so just to clarify how that works, Council provided some direction several years ago with, and asked staff to come back with an increased number of activities, an increased number of events. And so if, for those of you who remember, the community center had always just done a run, a 5K run or something like that. So we'd had an experience in the city with other events like this. And so the $25,000 in the budget is not a grant to the Something Yellow Foundation. So that is to cover our costs for street closers, for security, for sheriffs, whatever it is. Again, so there's not any outlay of cash to the Something Yellow Foundation. This is really a city co-sponsored event with a Something Yellow. So unless the council would want to change that in the future, I would recommend that that's not part of the grant program, because again, this was a direction of all 5 of the council to move forward with increased events. Now, the downside of this is, you know, there's a saying you can do anything you want, but you can't do everything you want. So at some point, there's going to be another worthy cause that will come forward with whatever is Lou Gehrig's disease or Parkinson's or whatever it is, and we may just have to say no at that time because we are currently funding the Something Yellow Foundation, which is very, very worthwhile. Again, so it's a very different than a grant program. It is a city co-sponsored event. In contrast, the film festival is more of a combination of a grant and a contribution of staff time and staff facilities. And so we provide $15,000 in cash as a contribution to the film festival. And then we also provide the plaza, the city facilities, staff time, and everything for that. So again, it's a kind of a hybrid of a grant and a city event. So I just wanted to make those 2 clarifications. Both of those are funded in this budget as is. There's no changes to those. And so as we bring forward a grant program, as Councilmember Shapiro has mentioned, we can exclude those or have that discussion of even what does in-kind contributions look like. We have a lot of individuals, community organizations that want the city's support in one way or another, whether that's in-kind, meaning do we provide city facilities, do we provide city staff, do we host an event, whether it's a community event or a cultural event or whatever that might be. Just even as we heard tonight, the request for a cultural event, that could be an in-kind grant of city staff time, city facilities, or whatever that might be. And so we'll explore that a little bit more when we come back to the council on the
So
grant
if you're
program.
not changing it for this fiscal year, why is this under discussion?
I don't know, because we made it clear last meeting that
Yeah.
it is funded in this budget.
Okay, so let's.
Can I
exclude
haven't
that.
given my comments yet.
Okay, but I just want to put this to bed. So can we just eliminate that, David, from the discussion?
I think this is the policy going forward, if I'm
Yeah.
reading and listening to the last 2 meetings. So that's why.
So I
it's
think,
been
Mayor, the reasons
discussed.
why is there's, as Councilmember Shapiro mentioned, there's still other opportunities for grants, whether that's with the PFCs or with other nonprofit entities in the community that may seek funding from the cities.
Okay, but are these 3 categories that he mentioned changing in this fiscal year?
So currently, Something Yellow, the film festival, are funded in this next fiscal year. Rotary was not, but they have not traditionally asked for all of their funding. Just after our meeting 2 weeks ago, they emailed and asked for their additional funding, and so they'll probably be good for another 2 years. They tend to go 25,000 for about 2 years instead of 25,000 per year.
All right, David, did you have other comments?
No, thank you.
Alicia?
I don't have any budget comments besides the community grant program. I just wanted to also recommend that Something Yellow and the Calabasas Film Festival are excluded moving forward. I guess my question for Kindon is, if we continue with the 5K race in, say, 2027, 28, would we expect that the Something Yellow Foundation would come forward and request money to help support that event?
I'd have to defer to staff, but I don't think they would be asking for a grant on top of our co-sponsoring of the event.
Okay, so I guess that's what I want to make sure, that
Yeah.
that event where we support Something Yellow is not included in them having to ask for something. That's where I'm coming from.
And
If
as it
it's-
is now, it's a co-sponsored event,
Right.
and so it wouldn't be a
Okay.
grant that they would be asking
Right,
for.
and if it's something else and they want our support, then I'm fine with, but I want to make sure that the Something Yellow 5K and the Calabasas Film Festival, which are really have become community events, remain community events.
And again, the council does not have to decide on the parameters of the community grant program tonight. We'll come back with guidelines
And then the
at a future date.
And then the other thing with the PFCs, I think just moving forward, we talked about that some of the issues were not getting the backup documents. So that should be a prerequisite to any type of funding and approval of what projects are in advance. So I'm not opposed to keeping the amount that we have allocated, but with stricter parameters of how the money is given out. And I know we had spoken previously that staff would vet the applications before coming to council, and I'm in support of that.
Yeah, thank you. And that's very important that we felt also that there's very clear reporting
Yeah.
in those guidelines. And so again, the guidelines that will come back to council will talk about the application process, the timing of that application process, amounts granted by the city, and then reporting requirements.
And also that the parties that are applying for the funds are very clear on the reporting requirements, because I know that's been an issue in the past too.
When is that coming back?
So we plan to bring that back, I would say in August, September,
Okay.
for the
so I
guidelines.
think what you can do to satisfy David and also my concerns, maybe others, is that we also put on the table when that comes back, who vets it.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I'll tell you, one of the things, David is correct about this part of it from the past, is that no matter what group it was, somebody in the group had a connection to the council. And if it was positive, they tended to get the money. And I saw on some occasions when it was negative, they got nothing, even though it was a worthwhile cause. And that should not be the reason why that happens. And everybody knew it, and it was very uncomfortable, which is the whole reason why we got rid of the process. So I'd hate to bring it back.
No, absolutely. Again, we will come to the council with guidelines, a framework for a grant program. If the council doesn't like it, we'll take direction to just implement what we've done in the past. This is, again, for future discussion.
Okay, so Alicia, do you have other comments?
No, not at this time.
Peter, were you taking notes?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to a couple of things out here. First of all, it's been stated already that Something Yellow and the film festival are already in the budget. We're not talking at this moment about changing any of that. And I'll go on the record saying, as far as the city supporting these events as programs and city programs, 100% don't want to change that. We should keep those in the budget for the program portion. For money that we give away from the city, money that we hand a check away, I would really like to see any checks that we're handing away rolled into the grant program in the future. What we're starting with right here in the budget in front of you is $125,000 for a grant program in lieu of the $125,000 PFC grants that we've had for the last 15 years. And I think that will go a long way towards getting an answer ahead of time as to what that money would be used for, so that we can see it and approve it. And I think that'll really help strengthen us putting Calabasas money where it's going to do the most good. So again, I'm still in favor of that, but for this budget, what you have in front of you, if we approve it tonight as is, the only thing that changes here is the PFCs would have to go through the grant program. The rest of the money is already allocated in this budget for Something Yellow and for the film festival. As far as the reserves, just doing a little bit of quick math for the public here, we currently have 63.5% of our general fund in reserves. And if we do pass this deficit budget this evening, we will still have 61.5% of our reserves in the bank. So it is 2% of our 2% of the 63%, 63.5% that we have in the bank right now. And again, we've passed a budget here. We came to the public with Measure K, and the reason that we came to them is because we don't have enough money in the city. Money that we receive in taxes and stuff is less than the cost of all of the services that we provide in the city. So our only two choices here tonight, if we don't want to pass this negative $621,000 as a deficit budget, the only other choice is we either have to raise revenue or cut services. And again, I think the mayor has said this, we need any specific direction as to what the alternative plan would be. What $621,000 should be cut here if we're not going to pass a deficit budget? Personally, I would say that I'm in favor of this budget as written, and that dropping our reserves from 63.5% to 61.5% is a perfectly good course of action, especially knowing that we have Measure K funds to start planning with come October. So that's my position.
Okay. So, Kendon, do you have sufficient direction from what's been said here? Has it been clear?
I do.
Okay. I have reserved my comments. Did I ask you if you had comments, Ed?
Not yet, I've been waiting.
I'm sorry. I think I skipped you over. I didn't mean to do that.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for their comments. It's been just really terrific putting all of our thoughts together to create this budget. It's not just a budget committee. David, you know, you're being the sanctity of having the something yellow, you know, the Rotary and also the Film Festival. These, and Alicia mentioning it also at the last meeting, these are institutional services that are provided that and we've done for years, and it's part of the city's lifeblood. So I'm glad we're protecting it. But again, what we were trying to do with the Budget Committee is also have a method of determining how we can build with criteria when requests for funds come, is it appropriate? And manage it a little bit better. So hopefully not politically either. So we'll get into the criteria over the summer and come up at our next council meeting. That's a big deal. But I think we all feel very, very strongly about Rotary, Something Yellow, and Film Festival, one way or the other, and as safe as can be. I'm very happy working on the Budget Committee, and we've looked at this line by line, and I think it's, we're at the beginning of it, I think we would have been very happy at the end where we got today, you know, with the amount that we have. We cut a lot of services. We really felt, we looked at it without considering Measure K. That wasn't passed when we began this, so we kept the same enthusiasm of being careful, and I'm happy with the budget, and I think everybody probably, from what I've judged tonight, feels the same way. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay. I have one comment, and I'd ask that the council indulge me and respect my many years of involvement with contract cities, 18 years on the board, president of the association. In recent times, they've had some significant issues and problems arise that are contrary to what I think this city stands for. And right now, there are some potential legal issues regarding the dues payment that have arisen. And I know Kendon's aware of this, and I don't know if you guys have gotten the emails from contract cities, but there is a dispute over the dues, and there's no invoice because of that. So I am asking that we not that we not pay it, but that we defer payment for several months until I have a chance to meet with the executive director of the contract cities and staff, and one other council member can join me to discuss some of the issues that are involved so that we not potentially entangle the city in something that we don't need to entangle the city in. So who would like to join me in that? I think Ed's on, yeah, that's a good, and I think you were involved in one of the incidents that I'm referring to. I think you know what I mean. So with that, I would like that, with that amendment, and Kendon, with the understanding that it's coming back for these other issues involving the community grants, that we have a motion to approve. This would be adopting resolution number 2026-2026. Is that right?
2026-20.
Wow.
Yes, it is, Mayor, yes.
Okay, and and that's adopting the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget, but also this is resolution number 2026-2027, rescinding the health benefits for program for future management employees. Pam, that second one, does that need a separate vote because of the nature of it?
You could take them together or separately.
Okay, we'll take it together because no one's mentioned any opposition to that. So may I have a motion with that, with the amendment regarding deferring contract city payment till at least I report, and we'll discuss it toward the end of the year.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Or second.
No, it was moved by Councilmember Albrecht. Councilmember Albrecht, I'd like to propose just one more friendly amendment addition to that, and that was Councilmember Shapiro would like to see, and I would agree, a hard look at the community center over the next fiscal year to see if we can't close that gap. We need to look at revenue coming in and expenses going out, and I think in conjunction with passing this budget, we should task our city staff with closing that gap.
Okay.
And with that, I would second the motion on the table.
Okay, it's Albrecht Kraut. All those in favor, please. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to close the public hearing because there was no public comment. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, before we go into the next meeting, I'd like to thank Allison and Ron just publicly again for all their work on the budget. Allison really took a lion's share this year with the numbers and working with the departments, and has really just excelled in that. And also, just to take a few minutes, so before, as the council knows, this Ron is one of our employees that will be taking the 2-year service credit. So this is his last council meeting.
Oh.
And so when we come back in August, he will be fishing or golfing or whatever retired people do. And so maybe counting sheep, counting numbers. I don't know, whatever that might be. And so I just want to congratulate Ron. He is an excellent finance director. He has really changed the trajectory of our city in so many different ways over the last 7 years that he's been here, has implemented very strong procedures and accounting practices that are going to really benefit the city for years to come. So I just wanted to acknowledge that to the council at this time.
Okay, thank you, Ron. And I didn't know that, otherwise I would have had you say something. Would you like to say something, this being your last meeting? I would have deferred earlier, but I wasn't aware of the
Nothing like
time.
impromptu speeches. Would love to thank the council and Kindon for these last 7 years. There's been trials, there's been COVID, there's been exodus of certain employees, and lots of different events have happened over the last 7 years, and the city has come through them. We had the Woolsey fire, we had a number of things that have happened, and the city is fared very well. We have weathered all those storms, if I can have an analogy, and it's been very good to work here, to work with the professional staff that we have here at the city. I think Kindon has actually done an excellent job of all of the hires of the department heads that he has accomplished, and now he gets to fill the rest of the plate as Barbara and I are both leaving, and so all the department heads will be his direct hires, no more inherited staff as it is. So, which is awesome considering that he's been here 5 years. So that's so it's been a pleasure to work with everybody. It's been nice to end my career here, and so my thanks off to council and to Kindon and all the staff. Thank you very much. It's been enjoyable. There's been trials, but it's been a fun ride. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. All right, thank you. And we will move on. Item 18, we took off the agenda. So what we're going to do next is we'll take item 19, and then we'll take our break. Item number 19 is a pre-construction amendment to the energy savings performance contract with Willdan Energy Solutions. Michael Klein. Yes, there you are. Okay, and Willdan representative, are you Colton Gorman?
Yes.
Okay, I guessed that. Okay, so we have the consultant here. Michael, why don't you start the conversation? But actually, the consultant can probably sit there, right? I mean, yeah, I'd like you to sit there because that's going to be public comment if there is any. It's just easier.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Thanks for introducing this item. This is related to an energy-saving performance contract that the city has with Wildan, and pretty much I will turn it over to Colton with Wildan, and he will walk the council through what this item is.
Oh, all right. Is that better? Good evening, Mayor, members of council, and the staff. My name is Colton Gorman. I'm here representing Wildan tonight. We are asking for one focused action that protects a significant federal payment for the city. That's roughly $1.2 million on the energy infrastructure project we've been developing for your staff. On the agenda, I'll keep this brief. A quick reminder where we are, where the project stands, the federal tax credit opportunity, and why the timing matters, and the specific action we're requesting tonight. Okay, this is Wildan's energy program progress. We have, this is the roadmap we're following. We've completed, nearly completed both steps of the investment grade audit. We should be presenting to staff sometime next week or the week after our final findings. We've identified scopes of work, walked the sites, and are confirming savings now and are coming to the staff with a firm fixed price. Tonight's request sits right here, where we're locking in the funding before construction begins. Nothing tonight commits the city to building. It simply preserves a funding source for the project you've already requested us to develop. Okay. Here's the opportunity. Because the city of Calabasas is a tax-exempt public agency, the city qualifies for the elective pay. The IRS sends the city a direct cash payment, and it's not a tax credit. It's equal to about 30% of the eligible solar investment. On the planned solar at 3 city sites, there's an estimated $1.2 million return to the city on a roughly $4 million project. How that safe harboring actually works. To capture that payment under today's terms, the city has to safe harbor it. And that rule is simple. Spend at least 5% on the project cost now, and today's federal terms are locked in. Once locked, the city has up to 4 years to complete construction and receive the full payment. The qualifying expense we're using is the solar panels themselves. Okay, here is a slide about the economics, and the economics work here in the city's favor. The panel purchase is about 13% of the total solar project cost, well above the 5% minimum. So a 13% spend secures 100% of that $1.2 million. And just as important, this isn't new spending. These are panels the city will buy for the solar project regardless. We're simply bringing that purchase forward to meet the deadline. And to be clear about the equipment, the city takes ownership the moment it's invoiced. The panels are insured and held at a dedicated tracked space at a licensed electrical distribution warehouse, and they're delivered to the sites when construction is ready for them. Okay, timeline and urgency. The reason we're here tonight is timing. The window to lock in today's terms closes on July 4th. So the sequence is council's authorization tonight, we complete the panel purchase before the deadline, then build over the next several years with the payment secured. If we miss that window, these favorable terms are no longer guaranteed. So our recommendation is straightforward: authorize the panel purchase and appropriate the funds tonight. It's a planned 13% of the project cost brought forward. It locks in today's federal terms and the 4-year build window, and it preserves an estimated $1.2 million payment to the city. We respectfully request the council's approval this evening. Thank you, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, I don't have any public comment cards, so I see no members of the public wish to speak. We don't have anything, so we'll move on to council comments and questions, and we'll start out with Ed. Why don't we start with you?
Well, this is, it's a good thing for us that it's not July 4th, because we're not going to miss the opportunity. And I think this is a double opportunity, one to put our city in positioned to be safe when power interruptions happen. It's a win-win all the way around. And having experience with my house being completely electric at its time, it's just unique to experience that feeling, and particularly for City Hall, our campus. It's so vital to the city and the operations. I think this is a safety factor high and above that we ever thought we could have had. So I like the idea. It's simply explained, and the bow on the, or the candle on top of the cake is the 1.2 million that comes back to the city in funds. So it really, we're writing a check, but we're getting a check back. So, and plus the savings on the electricity on top of that. So, and it's insured while it's in the warehouse. So it's a win-win-win. Hopefully others feel the same way. Thank you.
David, do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. This is great to see. It's been a long time coming. I know we discussed this a number of years ago, and it's great to see it coming forward. Just my math's bad, but is that about 520,000 that the city needs to come up with, if I'm right on the 13%?
Yes, 527,000, yeah.
Okay. And when you say July 4th deadline, even though they say it, everything's closed July 4th, I think. So that means July 3rd is really the deadline for us?
Right.
Okay. And when do you anticipate the funds would come into the city? The 1.2 million, I believe you indicated?
It's the year after construction is complete. So right now in our early stages, we're anticipating early 2028.
Okay. And what will we save? We've talked about this over time, over the future. The city saved by installing this system.
The annual electrical savings, I don't
Yes.
have that number in front of me, unfortunately. We're finalizing that investment grade audit tomorrow.
Okay.
And should have those numbers ready for the staff's review late next week.
Okay. No estimate at all whatsoever that we
I
can
have
give
the
the
site,
public?
we have a 372 kilowatt site here at the Civic Center. We've got some nice pictures to show you for those. 128 kilowatt site at the community center and 90 kilowatt site at the Tennis and Swim Center.
Okay,
But-
great. And then two other quick questions. One is the upkeep. Who is responsible for the upkeep on these and maintaining or insuring them, I guess, at this point?
So I'm making sure I'm understanding your question correctly. Who is upkeeping the panels while they're in storage?
No. Once the project is installed, does that then
Okay.
become the city's full responsibility for upkeep and maintenance and insurance?
Yeah, we
purposes?
haven't discussed specifics with staff yet, but I will say, generally speaking, we include 3 years of operation and maintenance, generally speaking, to make sure that the panels are operating correctly. Sometimes cities want to move further with that and move that to 10 years, sometimes it's 5 years. Most of our customers see that the panels are operating correctly and stay with a 3-year O&M plan with Willdan, and sometimes they, choose to take it on themselves. It's just biannual panel cleaning, basically. And when they're cleaning the panels, they just check, make sure the connections are secure and haven't been eaten by rodents or anything.
Okay, thanks very much. Those are my questions for now.
Alicia?
I think this is great, and I'm glad that we're taking advantage of this opportunity. So I'm supportive of it, but I'm
Pete?
interested to hear what Peter has to say actually on this one.
So, thank you. I've been cheating. I've been working with Colton on the side here.
I figured.
Been serving our assistant city manager as the translator, I guess you'd call it, for the project. Colton, I'm going to throw out some generalizations because I don't have the numbers in front of me either, but I'd like you to maybe correct me as I go here. In answer to Councilmember Shapiro's questions, the idea of this project is we're going to be putting solar panels into 3 sites. There's also a battery going into the Civic Center, which will only handle the panels that serve this front portion. So it'll handle the conference room, the chambers, what we would consider our emergency operations center, but it would not power the rest of City Hall, and it would have a limited duration. So the generator would still have to kick in if we're here for a long period of time. The battery, you can't get a battery big enough to power this place for 3 days. It just doesn't work like that. As far as this project goes, we've tried to stay with a project where the amount of power generated and the energy saved from the solar will pay for the whole project. And we take a loan from this organization ahead of time to pay for it, along with the interest being paid back. And then what we do is, instead of making a $600,000 electric bill payment every year, we're making a $600,000 loan payment or whatever. And 600,000 is the wrong number. I pulled that out of my ear, so don't quote me on that. So Colton, is that about the gist of where we're at right now?
Yes.
And-
We're going to have a version of the project that's entirely self-financed. There are some other things that require additional capital contribution, but we should have a version that's entirely self-financed. So all the energy savings will pay for the cost of financing.
Great. And I think the next step there was that the other options that'll come back to us may include things like a generator for the community center, so that it could also be self-sufficient in the event of an emergency, but that might take a little bit of money out of pocket. And so when we were planning this thing a year ago, they were under strict orders to stay at a zero net cost, and once Measure K passed, we have an option on the table to discuss that in the future. That may be one of the budgets that are presented to us, but we'll at least have a net zero budget as our baseline, give or take. So I just wanted to share that for the public especially. That's what this project's all about. That's why I'm okay spending some money right now, $500,000, to secure a $1.2 million return. That's free money. We're certainly not going to miss out on that. But just to let the public know, we don't have an extra $500,000 kicking around, and we're not spending money on a solar project that doesn't pay for itself. So just to get that on the record, and I'm in favor of moving forward.
Thank you, and I too think this is worthwhile, and I appreciate the work that's been done. Does anybody else have any comments, or if not, then I would ask for a motion to approve and authorize that the city manager execute the pre-construction amendment, and in an amount not to exceed, what is that? $526,671.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, that's Weintraub Shapiro. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 It's unanimous, 5-0. It is now 7:30. We will take a 5 minutes. Do you guys need more than 5 minutes?
I don't need a break.
5-minute break? Okay, we're back on the air and back in session. We will now move to the item number 20, which is digital freeway signage. And Michael Klein.
Good evening again. So let me jump right into this. Just to start off with, the reason why we're here tonight to discuss this is this was a future agenda item request made by Councilmember Weintraub and Councilmember Albrecht. This was back in October. The request was to bring forward a discussion to talk about additional freeway signage opportunities for auto dealerships, so the auto dealerships on Calabasas Road. This is a very high-level discussion tonight. Ultimately, I'm seeking direction from the council as to what the council would like the city to do moving forward. And within that framework, what I'm gonna talk about is the current regulations with regards to signage along Calabasas Road, specifically for the auto dealerships, some options to allow for more visibility, and then finally some city-owned options. So with that, let me jump into what the current regulations are. And this chart outlines what kind of signs are allowed, how big those signs are allowed to be, and how many signs are allowed for auto dealerships. And I'm not going to read through every single one of these, but one thing that I do want to point out with regards to monument signs, the standard requirement across the city, so at any other shopping center, for example, the limit for a monument sign is 10 feet in height and 100 square feet. The number of allowed monument signs is consistent across the board, but with regards to auto dealerships, they are actually allowed up to a 25-foot tall monument sign and a 150 square foot size limit for each side of that monument sign. So that's a slight difference with regards to auto dealerships versus other property owners or other commercial properties within the city. Then with regards to building mounted signs throughout the city, a typical requirement for building mounted sign is 1 per street frontage, and an additional sign is often allowed for buildings that are directly adjacent to a freeway. However, with regards to auto dealerships, not only are they allowed the 1 building mounted sign, the primary sign, but they are also allowed additional signage for special service signs, so like certified pre-owned or service entrance, things like that. And then also an additional sign for franchise signs. So this will make a little bit more sense as I go through some examples, but I do just want to point out that these are the special service sign, the directional signs, and the franchise signs are specific and unique to auto dealerships that give them a little bit more signage than what would otherwise be allowed in other locations throughout the city. So just going through the existing auto dealerships that are out there, you have Mercedes, which is right here off of the 101 freeway. Mercedes actually has benefits from 2 primary identification signs. The first one is facing Calabasas Road. That sign is roughly 150 square feet. And they have another freeway-facing sign, which is also 150 square feet. Mercedes is the only dealership that's allowed those 2 signs because in order to qualify for a freeway-facing sign, that additional sign, the building has to be directly adjacent, or the property has to be directly adjacent to the 101 freeway. The other auto dealerships are on the opposite side of Calabasas Road, technically not adjacent to the 101 freeway, so they don't have the additional primary building-mounted sign. With regards to the monument sign, Mercedes monument sign is 25 feet tall and roughly 130 square feet in size. And when I say size, what we measure is specifically the actual copy, not the entire dimension of the monument sign. With regards to Cadillac, Cadillac has their primary building mounted sign. That's about 60 square feet. They also have a franchise sign over here on that side, as well as their certified service entrance signage. That's their special service sign that I had mentioned earlier. And then their monument sign is 25 feet tall and 150 square feet per side. Then we have BMW. So BMW has their primary building mounted sign over here. It's a little bit hard to see in this image. That sign is roughly 71 square feet. They have their service entrance sign over here, and then their monument sign, which is also 25 feet tall and 150 square feet. And then because that building also has a mini dealership, they're allowed that additional signage for the franchise sign. They would be allowed one franchise sign for BMW and another franchise sign for Mini, which is what they have on the east side of that building. And then finally, moving on to Audi, they have their primary sign, which is 110 square feet. And then they have their monument sign, which is also 25 square feet. And roughly 25 feet tall and roughly 150 square feet. I am also including a picture of the old monument sign for Audi, which was originally for Acura. The reason why I bring this up is because that sign used to be a digital sign, which was legally permitted and approved by I believe by the county back when Acura was the dealership. However, because our municipal code prohibits digital signs, when the Audi project went through its remodel, they were required to remove that old digital sign and replace it with a conforming monument sign. Now, just to move on to a brief discussion of some additional options for visibility. In 2006, the city adopted its West Calabasas Road planning guidelines, and within those guidelines, the primary focus was to look at opportunities throughout Calabasas Road, really to support both the aesthetics, but also the business community and in particular the auto dealerships. And the primary focus of that West Calabasas Road planning guidelines was to look at developing what they called an upscale country design theme throughout the Calabasas Road corridor. And that design theme has been generally implemented throughout with regards to the recent remodels of the auto dealerships. Most of the focus is more on choosing high quality materials and having that high quality design. It doesn't call for any specific design theme, right? It's not asking for or requiring modern versus craftsman, but it's really focused on just providing quality. But one of the things that the design guidelines also talked about was providing better visibility for the auto dealerships in the way of these multi-tenant signs that could be either city-owned or through some sort of joint agreement with the auto dealerships. They could be located off-site, so not on an actual specific auto dealership, but the intent would be for them to be located somewhere along the 101 freeway, so between Calabasas Road and the freeway, and provide more signage or more visibility for each of the dealerships. And you could see in this image, this was an image directly from those guidelines, where they drew out what a potential sign could look like using some nice stone veneer at the bottom and then more of a wood texture design. This is really just an artistic rendering. It's, nothing was set in stone per se, but this was a concept that was thrown around. The different locations that they're showing is this is the off-ramp and the on-ramp to the southbound portion of the 101 freeway along Calabasas Road. More or less, you've got Mercedes just to the east and then Cadillac across the street. And then this location could be sort of where the Public Works yard is, just to the west of the intersection of Muro Road and Calabasas Road. But again, the general concept was to provide this multi-tenant signage. And you see this with other locations. A lot of other cities have sort of like the Oxnard Auto Mall or the Thousand Oaks auto dealerships, right? So that was the inspiration of this concept back then. And then another concept that has been thrown around or potentially discussed is the idea of doing a city-owned sign. Of course, you have to come up with the cost for that and to build that. So one of the things that we have looked at is what have other cities done with regards to cost sharing, hiring or entering into an agreement with an advertising firm to provide digital signage. Of course, while we don't allow for digital signage currently, that is something that we could consider. The image on the left is also just a rendering, and this is an example from San Jose, and the reason why I bring this one up is because they recently entered into an agreement for 3 of these types of digital signs along their freeway. They entered into a cost-sharing agreement with those advertising agencies, and For those 3 signs over the next, I believe, 20 years, they are expected to generate approximately $21 million in revenue for the city. So again, just wanting to make sure that we are discussing all potential options. And so from there, we took sort of that concept, that design that was in the guidelines, and threw in what could be a potential digital billboard or digital signage as well. But ultimately, these are just discussion points. So with that, staff is asking for direction from the City Council. This is responding to that future agenda item request. Ultimately, the couple things that we can look at is, does the council want us to consider making amendments to the municipal code with regards to the size, number, location, and type of signs that are allowed specifically for auto dealerships? And or would the City Council also want staff to start looking into the potential of building out those multi-tenant signs? And if we go down that route, would that look like just the simple multi-tenant sign or something with that digital signage component added to it? Again, really seeking, this is a very high-level discussion. We haven't put any effort into this at this point in time. The purpose of this staff report is really just to get a consensus from the council on how staff should move forward or not move forward.
Okay, well, thank you. I think we understand that this is only preliminary. There's no motion that's going to be done or anything. I did have one legal question, and that is, when you mention stuff like create some kind of, digital sign for the auto dealerships or something, if our municipal code generally says no, no, no to all this, are we allowed to say an exception could be for this auto dealership or for Auto Row or for auto dealerships in general? Because that seems like that would be a little bit of a disparity unless we had an overlay zone that we just added it to or something.
Yeah, you would have to write or amend your municipal code to adjust for the circumstance or the location where you would allow it. And so if that was the direction from the council, we would come up with additional language for a proposed amendment.
So but also on that other part of it, could you say in this overlay zone, which is an auto overlay zone, what if there's a business that's not an auto dealership? Could they also take advantage of it? Or could we favor like an only auto dealerships in that zone can do it?
You would have to make findings for reasonable regulations that are consistently applied. You can differentiate between different commercial activities and ventures, but there has to be a bona fide reason or logic behind doing so. But it can be done.
Okay, so turning now to the two council members who asked for it, Alicia and Ed, you can go first. Ed, you went first last time, I think. Alicia, do you have any, or either one of you?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Pam, just to follow up to that question that James had. I see this more and more every day on the back of vehicles, particularly Mercedes AMC, which is aftermarket design. It's not exactly that, but it means aftermarket materials used. So a lot of companies do that. You bring your car in and you can modify it. So what James is alluding to is if it's not a direct auto dealership, if it's another business, it could be something like that that's fits into that niche where they'd want to have it serviced, clean, modified, as opposed to a doctor's office or something of that nature. So could it be that niche would be included in it? I'm not sure who would move in there, but just looking into the future, if someone did, there's a couple properties that are open, so who knows what's going to fit in there.
I mean, that's also a question with respect to zoning and what's allowed in the zone and the overlay. And so we'd have to look more closely at what businesses would be allowed. And you'd have to make sure that, if this were an auto dealership or an auto dealer association type of advertisement, there would be parameters with who would be able to advertise and what associated or accessory uses or businesses would also be able to take advantage of this zone or the advertising display that you would want to be able to put up.
Okay, so we'll kick that around if it goes any further. But just how this all came about, it was kind of interesting. I was taking a ride to JPIA with our city manager and assistant city manager, and we were in the car, and we passed by Carson. It was all the way down south in Orange County. And we're talking city business, and before you know it, we see some signage. Alameda and the 405, they had a lot of signs there, and it just came up. You know, hey, what if we did that? Hey, what if this? What if? And it does seem like a good opportunity for us to consider. And like Mayor said, this is just chat, but let's find out for the future. One of the, I think staff did a great job on this, and the theme of it, using an upscale country signage, you know, is a nice way of putting it. But if it is done in a way that fits the community, it is an out-of-the-way kind of location. Haven't really entered Calabasas as you're going south yet until you get to the off-ramp and making a left to Parkway. So it might be a good idea, whether it's going to be digital or not, only to a certain amount of hours during the day, something that fits in with our city. And is it multi-tenant? That might be a good idea. It's a lot of work to go out there and determine if they're going to want to be a part of it. I think investigating all these possibilities would be excellent, because on the upside, we don't want to say no to missed revenue, especially if it's done in a way that fits the ilk of our city. It's not blatantly advertising. Those signs down on Alameda and the 405, you get immune to them after a while. You know they're there. Sometimes you look at them, but there's a lot of cars that pass by. And then also on the Mercedes dealer, on the freeway side, they're missing signage that they could put on there. I'm not speaking on behalf of Mercedes. I haven't chat with them, but I am speaking on behalf of the city, because that's missed revenue for cars that could be sold. One of my clients used to be Encino Mercedes, and they're not far away. And you got Thousand Oaks Mercedes. So, we want to capture as much as we can, but if we can do it in an eloquent way, and it's not obtrusive, and it adds to the atmosphere of the AutoZone, especially with the new roadway going in, and Moreau Road and the roundabout. And we got to support them also, I think, to let them know that we've tried, and if it's possible, great. There are super revenue opportunities and a source, so I think it's very purposeful to go and pursue this information.
I will just add that this always comes up over the years, that we have an auto district and a lot of people just don't know. Everyone knows Thousand Oaks, Santa Clarita, Van Nuys, but no one knows Calabasas, and this is our largest sales tax producers. And I just think we need to do more to promote this area, promote these uses in a tasteful way, which I think we're completely able to do. But just, we have this amazing area, like an auto district, and it's just there. We just need to do more to support that. So I appreciate you bringing this forward. I know there's two questions in here about the, let's see, it was about the city-owned signage, right? You want direction on that too? The San Jose sign is like too much for my taste. I think there's probably a way to do something, but I'd have to see more details on that one. I would want more information on that one. I think there's probably a lot of examples out there for smaller communities, but I really like that, promoting the car dealerships and everything, so.
Peter?
Well, I got a few thoughts here, and maybe a question or two along the way. First, couple of questions. Michael, where is our city property that would be adjacent to the freeway that we might have opportunities with? I can't imagine it. Do you have a?
I don't know. Are you seeing my cursor, or is it not?
No,
coming
you're
up?
not up yet.
Maybe now. I put up the.
Well, maybe someone from IT can come down and help.
Well, the city owns. There's the Public Works yard that's just west of the intersection of West Calabasas Road and, or not West Calabasas Road, but Calabasas Road and Muro Road.
Okay.
So that's one area. I don't know if that's the most ideal location. Actually, that might maybe make a little bit more sense. But then the other owned parcel is at the corner, kind of at the corner of Parkway Calabasas and Calabasas Road. What used to be behind the gas station, so where the convenience store is located on the Shell gas station at that intersection, the convenience store was owned by the city. The city owned that lot and then sold that to the Shell gas station. But the city still owns parcels on either side of that piece. So there's a small, tiny little lot just east of that along Parkway Calabasas. And then technically, the city owns the part of where the Mercedes dealership parks the cars on the lower lot. It's about 20 parking spaces, and it's right there along the freeway. Actually, in this image, this ramp right here.
Well, we're not
We
seeing it.
can't see the
doesn't-
image. Yeah.
If someone could come
In
down
the-
maybe and help, we can.
Okay, I get the gist of it. So
But the public doesn't know.
if
so
we
it'd
can
be
get
nice.
IT to help, that'd be great. Meanwhile, let's just keep the conversation going a little bit more if we can.
Yeah, and then we could also investigate looking
there
at
we go.
some of the other parcels. So here, now you can see my cursor.
Yeah.
In this image, this right here is the ramp that leads down from the upper part of Mercedes parking lot to a lower part, and the city owns parking along this, or the whole parking area along this area.
Okay.
And then on the other side of that gas station, the city owns a small parcel that is adjacent to Parkway Calabasas.
Okay, but the sign that you show here is in the Caltrans right of way.
This one's in the Caltrans right away,
Okay.
but if you shift it over probably 20 feet, that should be on city property.
Gotcha. Okay, and then the Murrow Road Bridge, is that our property or Caltrans?
I believe, I don't know if you know for sure.
Okay, all right.
Which one?
The bridge over Murrow Road?
Sir,
The
over
Murrow
here.
Road bridge over the freeway?
ours.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking these questions is if we're going to put up some signage, I envision this signage that I've seen in a lot of other jurisdictions where it says, auto mall next 2 exits, or we see that for the Camarillo outlet stores. Somehow these cities have gotten Caltrans to put up Caltrans signs that are informational signs that say what's up the next exit. I think that would be our best opportunity, because as you're coming from the west to east, Murrow Road Bridge is about where you need to figure out that you need to get in the right-hand lane. And by the time you see the auto dealers, you're past them. So somebody that passes them might end up going to Woodland Hills and never come back to Calabasas. And then go in the other direction, if you want to get off, if you're going east to west, to come to our auto dealers, you really got to get off at Parkway Calabasas before you even see the auto dealers. So I think some freeway directional signs, and I think we should reach out to Caltrans, find out what their procedures are for getting freeway signage up there, and maybe we need to make a designation of, the Calabasas Auto Mall or whatever the terminology would be in order to get that freeway signage. I'd be in favor of some monument signage like you're showing here, some city-owned monument signage. I think we need to stay away from digital. I know the world is going digital. I don't think it's our image just yet. Maybe in the year 2080, but not right now. A couple more questions, and this sign ordinance that we have that gives the additional height and square footage, is that for automotive dealers, or is that for anything in the zone?
Let me look that up really quickly. Because I do believe it's for anything on Calabasas Road, but I want to confirm that. I also, while I'm looking that up, I do want to mention that we do have a car overlay, so we have that in place already from a regulatory standpoint, so that's a good suggestion. And then one thing that we can consider, getting to the question about, can we allow it for one use but not another? If you can't allow it for a use, you could also look at like lot sizes, right? So most of the auto dealerships are on much larger lots. So if you're going to allow some sort of additional signage, it could be tied to the size of the lot rather than the actual use. And that would probably accomplish most of those goals, because most of the auto dealerships are on properties that are much larger than most of the other uses would be. So yeah, I do believe that the allowed height limit is based on the location, not just specifically for auto dealerships.
Okay, and then I guess a tangent question to that is, do we allow auto dealerships outside of the zone? Would they be an eligible in another retail zone?
Yeah, auto dealerships are allowed outside of the car overlay zone. So typically they're allowed in the commercial retail zoning districts. The purpose of the car overlay was to make auto dealerships of by right use. And so it in theory makes it a little bit of an easier process. But yeah, technically they are allowed outside of Calabasas Road.
Okay. I mean, I just want to conclude by saying I'm in favor of finding additional ways to promote our car dealerships, to increase that revenue from the city. I am not in favor of digital signage, and I would probably lean away from city-owned signage. I know it's an additional revenue opportunity here, but it sounds like another can of worms to be able to manage, and I really believe that with the passage of Measure K, we have sufficient funds to run this city now. We just have to be, thoughtful in what we do moving forward. So I don't see an urgent need to grab funds at this point, and I'd be in favor of finding ways just to get some Caltrans signage up so that people know when to get off the freeway.
David.
Thank you. I'll jump on Peter's last comment, and he made it earlier about signage well in advance of getting off on Calabasas Road. Would love to find out, there's an area, it's eastbound on the 101 before the City of Calabasas sign, which is blocked by it. It's a Caltrans sign that was promised to be there for only a couple years and be moved or removed. And not that I'm running for the electric or the electric signage or big sign, but if you're going to put it somewhere, why not put it right there in place of the large Caltrans signs, which blocks the City of Calabasas logo and name on the bridge. And it was supposed to be removed. So that would be a suggestion that's well in advance, but that would give plenty of notice. It's already been mentioned, I'm looking at Pam. If we do this, can it include other entities? You already mentioned, James asked that. Speaking of a gas station, car wash, would those be permitted on the signage? Mandatory?
It will depend on how you write the regulation or what you direct for us. And like I said, as long as you're consistently applying it, whatever parameters you provide, we will work with it to come up with a solution that works for the council and the city.
Okay, and if we do this, if it's based upon the auto overlay zone, are we allowed to exempt others, businesses or entities that come to us wanting large signs like this throughout the city?
You mean if they were to apply for it or want it within a different zone?
Yes.
It would have to come back to the city and the council would decide if they would allow that.
And legally, I guess that's one of the questions that comes to my mind. I'm sorry?
Whether or not you want it in other zones, you would have to make findings for it.
Okay. And only a quick comment on the discussion of the size of the lots. Concern there would be, I realize it's auto overlay zone again, but then you're looking at Commons, Gelson's, Thousand Oaks Mall, the mall with Erewhon, possibly larger developments. I think you're opening up a can of worms if you're doing it solely based on the size of the lot. So that would just be a quick comment. And if I added right, the numbers you gave over 20 years, 21 years, I'm sorry, was it would average out to about $950,000 a year to the city for city-owned signage, right? On the electrical, though.
That's just an example from another city that recently entered into an agreement. That was for 3 signs.
3 digital signs.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it unique to that area, or is that standard, or you have no idea? I want to
don't
know
know.
that. I'm certainly like the concept of, if we're going to do it, the signage you have on page 10, but I'm not totally opposed to something saying welcome to Calabasas, whether that's digital or not, depends on the area. We already have, as mentioned, a large digital Caltrans sign, so to me, I'd rather it say welcome to Calabasas at that location. Those are my comments.
Okay, when you said Gelson's and all those other places, it's just about the freeway signage, isn't it?
Well, if we're talking about just the car overlay, that only exists along Calabasas Road. So that's where the parameter would be, the property has to be located within the car overlay and it has to be over a certain square footage. That would preclude or prevent any other, shopping owner from participating. That being said, what I'm hearing though tonight so far is it's not so much that the interest is in changing the municipal code for the auto dealerships, because it seems like most of the conversation is more on just getting better visibility, maybe through that multi-tenant type of sign, but also still waiting for the mayor's comments as well.
My comments are as follows. I do not favor digital signage. And I think the sign that said, welcome to Calabasas, it was rendered, would not be well received in the city. In the past, when we've talked about digital signage anywhere, there's been significant opposition. I think there would be tremendous opposition to something like that, welcoming people to the city, which we've tried to portray a much softer, more rustic image, such as the monument signs we have placed there now. I would be much more inclined to be lenient with signage that faced the freeway, which is already congested and crowded, as it is, as opposed to some of our scenic corridors and things of that sort. So I'm much more willing to entertain larger signs and more visibility on those areas that are facing the freeway. I don't know what that does, whether a car dealership that's on the other side of Calabasas Road would still want or participate in that kind of signage program, but I would open it up to them as well, again, without digital. I would want some kind of thing written into the ordinance regarding content control of what goes up there, because there are certain things that could be advertised or that would be done that would maybe not comport with what the city's image is. Have you talked to any other cities about the costs of maintaining these signs when there's vandalism or when there's graffiti or when there's destruction? Because I know those are constant things that people have to deal with, and who pays for that?
We have not investigated this any further than the staff report. So from here, if there's direction, consensus from the council to go that way, then we will look more into that. One mechanism that I am aware of, and Pam and I talked about this earlier, is that sometimes within an area like this, the auto dealerships will form an association, and then they pay into the maintenance and the upkeep of that signage.
Okay.
And so that's something that if the council wants us to pursue and look into that multi-tenant sign, no digital, but just the multi-tenant sign, then that's one area that we would explore. We would reach out to the auto dealerships and see if they would want to participate in something like that. They also have property across the Calabasas Road, so BMW leases the lot across the street. So does Cadillac, that could be an area too. If there's participation with the dealerships, maybe they would be willing to allow for some signage to be placed there as well.
Well, I think one of those signs you had was right near there, at the base of that hill. You could actually put it up on the top of the plateau where the cars are, and somewhere up higher, and that would get more visibility. Another aspect is dimensions. I would want it spelled out in any ordinance what the maximum dimensions of the sign could be, and perhaps color palette. I would not want to see fluorescent colors being used. I mean, you know, we laugh at it, but if we don't say, and it appears, and there's nothing in the ordinance or the permit, then that's that. The other thing is, and this was an important one, I'd want it to not change where it's something that's permanent unless the business brings it down. I'd like it to be something that's permitted and terminable or annually renewed by the city, or something where if the business changed, if the city changed philosophy, if it got dilapidated, the city would have total control with notice or with an end period of the time period to bring it down. So those are the, I mean, I'm willing to consider this, but some of the things I saw in the renderings, like that digital sign, and some of the placements, like right next to the first lane of the freeway, I just think those are not in keeping with the city. So that's my input. So we don't need a motion if there's any other input that anybody has. Otherwise, we're just going to have it come back.
And Michael, I just wanted to ask, do you have enough direction? Do you want to go through a couple items just to make sure we're clear that we
Yeah.
have a majority
I would
consensus?
like to go through a couple items. So just to make sure, because a couple, right, the action, the two main areas that we can look at staff is, should we update our municipal code specifically for the auto retail zoning district, allowing for more signage on the auto dealership properties themselves, right? So right now, there's existing signage that those auto dealerships have, building-mounted monument signs. Does the council want us to look into amending the municipal code to allow for more of that? I didn't really hear much more conversation on that, so I want to make sure that there is no direction to head that way.
I'm not in favor of
I wanted to see if there was a way to add signage for the auto dealers off the freeway, or like a monument sign like Calabasas Auto Row or something to really like promote this auto district.
Right, so, okay, that's the second,
Okay.
the second direction, which is, do you want us to investigate that multi-tenant signage? Clearly not digital, went on a limb on that one, and it's not favorable. But something in keeping with what was identified in the West Calabasas Road design guidelines. And simultaneously, we'll talk with Public Works to find out about Caltrans and adding those wayfinding signs. I think the benefit of the multi-tenant sign is, although someone may not be driving specifically looking for a dealership, as they drive by every day, you know, to and from work, it's a reminder that, oh, there is a BMW dealership on Calabasas Road. There is a Cadillac dealership on Calabasas Road. So I'm happy to start investigating that.
Did you want to go? No, I would agree with that. I like that idea about the sign, because they might even be on their way here, and they're going to pass the Parkway off-ramp, and they're going to get lost, and they're going to go right into Encino, or vice versa. It's a great idea. It's an inexpensive one. It needs to be investigated. Probably take a lot of work with them. I know I heard many stories about the sign on Las Virgenes that's blocking our name, the beautiful name on there. That would be a great place to do it, and that they do owe that to us. I know Fred was telling me about it, how proud they were to finally get it up, and then boom, there goes the freeway sign right in front of it. So what a shame. And from what I hear, and I would agree when I spoke earlier, I don't think any of us are really in favor of a large digital sign, or digital of any kind. You know, it's got to be in keeping with the feeling of the community. You know, if there's something comes up and it potentially something that fits in, but I would doubt it would. But I don't want you to, my point of view is not spend a lot of time looking for things that we don't really have a true interest in, and we don't think it would move forward with. something more conventional.
Okay. Did you add something?
No, I
Okay.
just support that as well, the multi-sign.
Okay, I think we're done with the conversation, and you have your direction.
Yes.
Is it coming back to planning?
Well, we're going to have a lot of investigation and research to do, reaching out to the auto dealerships, figuring out really property ownership, all of that stuff.
Well, I wasn't asking when, I'm saying, is it coming back to planning, or is it coming back here? Because I think planning commission might.
It doesn't
vet
have
it
to.
first.
It depends ultimately what's decided. If it ends up being a city project, it doesn't have to necessarily go through planning, but we can, and it
Well, I think the council would benefit from here, having the planning commission weigh in, unless you don't want to, and we can have it come right back here. Doesn't matter either way. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it can come back here.
Okay, comes back here.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item is item number 21, Senate Bill 707, which is a Brown Act changes and adoption of policies pursuant to Senate Bill 707. And our city attorney will be giving the staff report, which he's already prepared.
All right, so real quickly, our last item, as you know, Senate Bill 707 was adopted last year in October of 2025, and it becomes effective July 1st of 2026. And SB 707 makes major changes to the Brown Act, which is the open and public meetings law in California. And among one of those changes is the requirement to have hybrid meetings. What that means is, in addition to in-person meetings, cities will now be required to have their meetings through two-way telephonic or two-way audiovisual platforms such as Zoom. And that would allow greater participation and observation of these meetings. As part of that requirement, cities are needing to adopt disruption policy when it relates to technological disruptions. If there's something wrong with Zoom or the internet service provider is down, there has to be a way to try and fix the interruption in service. And before you is the draft policy that speaks to the parameters and the process to deal with technological disruptions in the hybrid meeting format. If there is a disruption, the city clerk would obviously announce the disruption in service, and a recess will be called. In the event that there is a disruption, there will be attempts to restore service with the technology and the internet service provider. And we're required to attempt to restore service for up to an hour. That being the case, the city council meeting will then be recessed for however long it takes, up to an hour. And if within that hour service can't be restored, then the city council can either adjourn the meeting or continue a recess or move forward with the meeting being in person only after making certain findings. And that's included in the attached telephonic or technological disruption policy that's before you. This does need to be adopted prior to July 1st of 2026, which is why it's before you now, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have regarding the policy.
Okay, Peter, do you have any questions or comments?
No.
Ed?
No.
David? Alicia?
No.
Okay. All right, then in that case, what would the council like to do with resolution number 2026-2029? Is there a motion of some type?
Move to approve?
Motion to approve Senate Bill 707.
Okay, Kraut, Albrecht? Any other comments? All right. All
Are there
those in
public
favor?
comments?
What?
Any public comments?
Oh, I'm sorry, there are no public comments.
Okay.
I apologize, I should have called for that before. All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Did you vote, Alicia?
I said yes.
Oh, you said less, yes. okay.
Abstention.
401. All right. Thank you. We'll now go on to verbal reports. Does anyone have anything to report verbally? David?
Briefly attended SCAG meetings last week, had other events, and I will be representing actually one of a handful on SCAG's committee going forward on RENA. So anything you would like shared with SCAG for the next year at least, I will be in meetings representing the region and relaying all comments and thoughts and sharing them.
I'd love to share my thoughts, but I won't say them on the air. All right. Does anybody else have any comments to make?
Valley Economic Alliance, I'll be joining their Board of Directors meeting tomorrow morning early. Clean Power, I've got a mid-month Board of Directors, and had a nice government affairs call with our Southern Cal Edison rep and the supervisor, third supervisor, Horvath rep, and state senator rep. So keeping abreast with our associates on the public side.
Peter,
Just that I attended the VICA County Office Holders Breakfast on June 11th. Great presentations by Supervisor Barga and DA Hockman. So both great speakers, and a few others as well, but nothing significant to report.
Alicia?
Just that we have an extra COG meeting this Friday to go over the COG budget. So
Okay.
I'll report back.
I have quite a few things I've been up to, but the highlight would be, we had a city selection committee meeting here in Calabasas. We were a satellite office today. With respect to the League of California Cities, last week I attended their annual City PAC fundraiser for the LA County Division. I've been attending their division meetings monthly, virtually, and there is a state board meeting in July while we're dark, and that's in Redondo Beach. So I don't have anything else. City Manager?
Mayor, just one item. I sent an email to council earlier today, and we'll promote this on our media outlets. There is going to be a prescribed burn on Friday, and that's scheduled to begin at 9 a.m. And so we just want our residents to be aware that they will see smoke, but it is a prescribed burn to reduce fuels in the Topanga Canyon area.
Topanga and Mulholland, it's Santa Maria.
Correct.
Okay, and with that, I just want to remind the public,
Oh,
the city
wait.
council will be dark.
Future agenda items.
Future agenda items?
I want to again request that we discuss the speeding on Mulholland Highway. I know we've continued to talk about it, but I said someone's going to die on Mulholland Highway, and 2 people did because the speeding is so excessive. But what worries me more, if someone's going to speed and take those actions for themselves, but someone innocently is going to get killed on Mulholland Highway. There are so many posts online about neighbors calling the sheriff office department, no response. I mean, it's nightly, it's on the weekends. If you come out on Sunday, constant. I mean, it's a freeway, and it is so dangerous, and I really hope that we can bring something forward to have a conversation with the captain or Sergeant Aarons, but not having the resources isn't enough anymore. Like, there has to be something that we can do. I know there was a road diet years ago to make Mulholland Highway safer, so we have the opposite problem in the morning. No one can get anywhere. But at nighttime, it's so awful that, I mean, we can't sit back anymore. We have to have some conversations about it.
And I would second that or support that.
Thank you.
Okay.
And council member, that's already scheduled. I've talked with Captain Carr and also Sergeant Aarons and asked both of them to be present in August to do that. I think that's a little bit above Deputy Cienfuegos' pay grade to present that. He could do a great job, but I think that there needs to be a little bit of accountability because the council has asked for this over multiple years at this point, multiple captains, and we have not seen results. And so I think it's a proper time to ask for law enforcement's response on that.
And let me tell you, you provided the best idea years ago. It's not really probably practical, but you gave me the best idea, so I'll bring it up when it comes back. But
I'm
you
dying to know.
Yes, he came up with something super creative to slow the cars down on the weeknights and the weekends. So,
Putting a bunch of nails on the road?
pretty much close to it, but
Okay.
no, it wouldn't damage cars, but it would slow people down. So if we don't have the enforcement, we have to get creative. And
Oh,
Kindon,
I think I remember, yes.
Kindon has an idea. He might not remember it. I'll share it.
Okay.
And may I add future agenda item?
Yes.
Thank you. It would be, and I'd love to partner with someone. I started this right after the sign went up. I mentioned it tonight, right before Lost Hills, our city bridge and overpass, that sign. And then it was our Senator Stern who was working with us briefly before the district changed to try and get that moved even a certain amount away from the sign and work with the Caltrans to get that big sign moved away from blocking our name and our logo on the bridge that passes in Lost Hills. So I would certainly welcome the opportunity to try and do that with someone or bring it to a future agenda.
I'll help you.
Okay, we'll stick that on a, well, what do you want to do?
Whatever, I'm happy to have it come back here if you want, or I'm happy to work with someone if I'm okay to do that with.
Maybe we could try reaching out to Caltrans again. They've had a lot of changes in their.
Why don't you try first to work with somebody, and then you can agendize it after that, after you have
Okay,
something to
as long
report.
as I'm happy to do so.
Okay, so then we can agendize it after there's something to report. All right, the only thing I would say, Kendon, is that, and I've said this before, I'm hoping that we have some kind of workshop regarding Measure K's implementation, specifically not just for the information, but to set the parameters of the auditing oversight committee and get public input as to how they would like the money used. And I've got some ideas of my own, certainly including law enforcement and public safety related. So that's all I have. I wanted to remind the public, as I started earlier, to say that we are on summer recess. The council will be dark in July unless there's an emergency and something happens, which I hope there won't be. And so our next city council meeting is set for the meeting of August 12th, 2026. Thank you, everybody.